Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Dunn. What I want to do in this video is talk to you about graphs and lines. So what we're going to do first is find the intercepts and slope of a linear equation, and then what we're going to do is graph linear equations using the intercepts. That would be the x and the y intercepts. All right, so let's get started. First, what I want to do is talk about the slope. So here are four different examples, example A, B, C, and D. And what we want to do is we want to find the slope of these lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to find 2 points that intersect like in a corner. So here's one point, here's another point. And we're going to find the rise over the run. So we always count the number of ticks it takes us to get up to the next point or down and then over. So always think up and down and then left or right. So for the first one, for A, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 2. So the slope would be 4 over 2, and when we simplify that, we get 2. Okay, let's look at letter B next. So to find the slope of this line, so look at this line. This line is a vertical line. So let's think about if we were going to count how many spaces up, right? And then how many spaces to the right. Well, there are no spaces to the right. So that means that denominator would be 0. Remember, when the denominator is 0, then the slope is undefined. That expression is undefined, so our slope is undefined. Let's look at C next. In letter C, now we are moving left and right, but we're not going up any. So that upward movement is 0, and so our slope is 0 if for letter C. So when we have a horizontal line, the slope is 0. When we have a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Okay, last we have D. Now, first I found these 2 points. Now I want to talk about these 2 points because we're going to talk about them in the next couple slides. So these 2 points have special names. This point here that is on the x-axis is called the x-intercept, and the point here on the y-axis is called the y-intercept. All right. Anyway, just pointing out what the intercepts are. So let's find the slope. Rise, 2, right? Run, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went up 2, and then to the left, we went 4. And so our slope is 2 over -4, or -1/2 when we simplify that fraction. Okay, so that's what the slope is. So now what we want to do is we want to talk about finding the slope and the intercepts from an equation. Well, if we have an equation in what's called slope-intercept form, that's pretty easy. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if you have to find the slope in the x and y intercepts, the slope is equal to m. The y-intercept is b, or you can plug 0 in for x. And the x-intercept is going to be -b over m, and I'll show you why in a sec. Or you could plug 0 in for y. I really think when you're finding an x-intercept, don't memorize this formula. Memorize that you're plugging 0 in for y. You'll see I'm going to do a lot of examples for you. So here's our first example. Find the slope in the x and y intercepts. Well, this is in slope-intercept form, so the slope is easy. The slope is -10/3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the x and the y intercepts. So first of all, to find the y-intercept, I found the y-intercept first. We plug a 0 in for x, or you can see that it's b, 4. But when you plug a 0 in for x, you get y equals 0 plus 4, or y equals 4. We knew that, so the y-intercept is 4. Now let's find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to plug a 0 in for y. So when we plug a 0 into this equation for y, we have 0 equals -2/3 x plus 4. So we'll subtract 4 from both sides. -4 equals -10/3 x. Now what we're going to do is divide both sides by -10/3. When we're dividing by a fraction, remember we're multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by -3/10. When we do that, -3 times -4 is +12. So we have 12/10 is equal to x. When we simplify 12/10, we get 6/5. And so the x-intercept is 6/5. Okay, let's look at another example. So, sorry, before I go to the next example, I forgot I wanted to show you how to graph this equation because you're going to have to do this on MyMathLab. So when we go to graph it, I recommend you use that x and the y-intercept. So here you'll see I graphed the x-intercept, which is a little bigger than 1 because it's 1 1/5. So it's right here. And the y-intercept is at 4, and then we just simply connect those dots. Get in the habit of graphing lines this way, okay? Not using the slope, but using the intercepts, because it's going to help you later when we're doing our linear programming. Okay, and so the last example, I wanted to show you an equation that was not in slope-intercept form, and we're going to find the slope and the intercepts from this equation. I found the intercepts first. The first one I found was the x-intercept. Remember, when we're finding an x-intercept, we plug a 0 in for y. You can always pause this video and look at this equation to see how I got this. But 2x is equal to 8, which means x is equal to 4. So that means our x-intercept is 4. To find the y-intercept, remember we plug a 0 in for x. And when we plug a 0 in for x, we get 3y equals 8, or y equals 8/3. And so the y-intercept is 8/3. And then lastly, we want to find the slope. Now to find the slope, we're going to put it into y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to solve this equation for y. So what we did is we subtracted 2x from both sides, and then divided every term by 3 to get the y by itself. So when I divide by 3, I get y equals -2/3 x plus 8/3. So the slope is that m, -2/3. Okay, that's it. I hope that you learned something, or at least this refreshed your memory about something you already knew. And be sure to watch the next video because it's specific on how to do this on MyMathLab. Good luck to you all.